You hear that beep, and you just trust it, right? You look at the label on the shelf, and you believe what it says. Organic, authentic. But what if that claim can't actually be proven? You see, somewhere in that long journey, from a farm getting hit by a storm, to a container ship in the middle of the ocean, to a warehouse with a few boxes missing, somewhere between the source and the shelf, the truth just disappears. So what if every single step of that journey was recorded in a way that was impossible to alter? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on all of it.
All right, but before we jump in, we've got to get the official stuff out of the way. This explainer you're watching from the channel Block Spawns Funds is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not and should not be taken as financial or investment advice. Okay, with that covered, let's get to the heart of it. So, you might be asking, why do we even need to fix a system that seems to work? Well, it all boils down to one massive problem in how things get from point A to point B, a huge trust gap, one that's born from just mind-boggling complexity. I mean, really think about it for a second. That cup of coffee in your hand, it has been touched by farmers, processors, exporters, shipping lines, customs officials, distributors, and finally the store. And here's the kicker. Every single one of them is using their own system, their own spreadsheet, their own way of doing things. They're not all speaking the same language. And you guessed it, that's where everything starts to break down. You've got manual errors everywhere. One study found that about 17% of records have simple typos. Each company's crucial data is trapped in what we call a silo. It's like every company is its own little digital island, totally cut off from the others. So if there's a problem, trying to trace a product back to its source can take days or even weeks, and the data doesn't even line up. One person's logging in kilograms, the next in packs, and the last one in individual items. And you know what thrives in these dark spots of confusion? Fraud, counterfeits. So what's the result of all this chaos? It's simple, really. In this global game of broken telephone, there is no single source of truth. There's no one place you can go to see the complete, undeniable story of a product's journey, which means nobody, and I mean nobody, has the full picture. Okay, so the old system is a mess, but what if we could build a new one where trust is literally built into its DNA? Well, that is the big promise of blockchain. Look, let's strip away all the jargon for a second. At its core, a blockchain is just a shared digital record book. Think of it like a magical digital notebook. And here's the cool part. Every single person in that supply chain, the farmer, the shipper, the store, they all have an identical, constantly updated copy of that exact same notebook. And this whole thing works because of three, let's call them pillars of trust. First, it's decentralized. There's no big boss, no central company controlling the book. Everyone shares it, and everyone secures it together. Second, it's immutable. Once you write something in this notebook, it's locked in with some seriously heavy-duty math. You can't change it, you can't delete it, ever. And third, it's transparent. Everyone who's supposed to see the information sees the exact same version of the truth at the exact same time. And this is where you can really see how it all works together. All the players, suppliers, retailers, you name it, are connected as nodes in this network. When someone wants to add a new record, it's sent out to everybody. The network as a whole has to agree that it's valid. Once they do, boom, it's added to that unchangeable ledger they all share. It's a system that basically uses math to create trust, so you don't need to rely on a bunch of middlemen to verify everything. So what makes this whole machine run? Well, that would be something called a smart contract. It's basically a self-executing agreement that's written in code, and it just follows simple if this, then that rules. So for a really sensitive shipment like vaccines, a smart contract could say if the GPS data confirms the truck arrived at the hospital and the temperature sensor data proves the vaccine stayed cold the whole time, then automatically release the payment to the shipping company. No paperwork, no phone calls, no waiting for someone to approve an invoice. The contract just executes. It's totally automatic. Okay, so that all sounds pretty amazing in theory, right? But is this just some futuristic dream, or are companies actually using it? Oh yeah. And the results? They're kind of mind-blowing. So check out this number, 2.2 seconds. Any guesses what that is? That's how long it now takes Walmart to trace a single head of lettuce from the store shelf all the way back to the exact farm it came from. And this chart just lays it all out plain and simple. Before, it took them 7 days. Think about that. If there's a food safety scare, that's a week of people potentially getting sick while they track down the source. Now it's 2.2 seconds. That speed isn't just about efficiency. It's a game changer for public safety. Okay, so from saving lives with speed, let's talk about saving time and money on a global scale. How about this one? 40%. That's how much Maersk, the massive shipping company, cut down its shipping times. Their TradeLens platform took that mountain of paperwork involved in global shipping and digitized it, slashing delays and making the whole process way more efficient. And then there's this number, and it's a big one, $98 billion. That's what the luxury goods industry loses to counterfeits every year. So what do? Giants like LVMH, Prada, and Cartier got together and created the Aura Blockchain Consortium. They're basically giving every handbag, every watch, its own unique digital birth certificate on the blockchain to prove it's the real deal. And this diagram really shows you what that journey looks like step by step. The supplier adds the origin story. The factory adds its processing data. The shipping company adds its location logs. Each step adds another secure, unchangeable block of information. And all of this builds that unbreakable chain of trust that you, the customer, can actually see with a quick scan of your phone. So with all these amazing results, blockchain is the perfect magic bullet solution for everything, right? Well, not so fast. It's an incredible tool, but it's not perfect, because this is where we have to talk about the reality check. And really, it all comes down to a classic saying from the world of computing that is more true here than ever. Garbage in, garbage out. This right here, this is probably the most important thing to understand about this entire technology. A blockchain is fantastic at making sure data, once it's in the system, can never be messed with. But, and this is a huge but, it has zero ability to know if the information you put in was correct to begin with. Let's break it down. Promise versus problem. The promise is incredible security for the data after it's recorded. But the problem is, it can't check the data at the moment of entry. So if someone at the warehouse accidentally types in the wrong expiration date, or a sensor on a truck malfunctions and gives a wrong temperature reading, the blockchain doesn't question it. It just faithfully and permanently records that bad data forever. And on top of that fundamental problem, there are some other huge hurdles to climb. First, scalability. Can these systems actually handle the insane volume of transactions that happen every second in global trade? Then you have integration. How do you get this shiny new tech to play nice with the ancient software that some companies are still using? Then there's the network effect, right? A blockchain for a supply chain is useless if only one company is on it. You need everybody, a critical mass, to join in. And finally, standardization. Everyone needs to agree on how to talk to each other, digitally speaking, or we just end up with brand new digital islands. And all of this brings us to the final, really big question. The technology itself is nearly perfect at protecting the data once it's in the system. But the real multi-billion-dollar question is this. Can we perfect the messy human part of it? Can we perfect the people and the sensors that are feeding the data into this perfect system in the first place? That's the puzzle we still need to solve.